We have a cooperative viticulture, more info on Runescape from Steamforged, and Tiny Epic Blood Rage. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is News and Week in Review, going into, well, game news, games, topic of the week, what I played, all the videos and stuff like that, schedules and things, and let's go ahead and start this off. Starting off with news, and before I do, I know last week for the first time I started throwing pictures in and stuff. First of all, I'll have to find a cleaner, prettier way of doing that, so that will happen soon enough. And then secondly, I may or may not actually get it done this week. I know technically I have no job now, but this week has not been easy just yet. We'll get to that in topic of the week, but I may or may not have time to throw pictures in this week. But it will become part of the regular thing shortly. But that said, let's go ahead and start this off. Starting off with news, we have Unbox Now from Asmodee. This is something that's actually been around for quite a while. Unbox Now, Asmodee just recently unveiled their Unbox Now, but they've had little teases or things about it. They had like a segment on Ellen at some point, like a year and a half ago. They had these little YouTube channel and little clips that they were advertising for it. So I don't know exactly what's going on in their marketing engine, but Unbox Now is kind of a selected picks from Asmodee. You know, hey, here are Ticket to Ride and Catan and a whole bunch of other games that we're Splendor, and we're pitching these as the best of the best. These are the games that you should be paying attention to, and they're all good games to pay attention to. I think they are good selections. I just don't really know what necessarily this is and why now versus later and all that stuff. And also it does come with access to that game on BoardGameArena. So if you buy the Ticket to Ride from Unbox Now, you also get access to the online implementation on BoardGameArena. So that's fun, I guess. It's nice. Speaking of, well, BoardGameArena, our next news segment is that Blood Rage. Blood Rage is apparently on BoardGameArena. This is not the Tiny Epic Blood Rage I was referring to earlier in the little spoiler segment, but basically Blood Rage is available on BoardGameArena in case you wanted to have another way to try that out. I plan on trying that out. We'll get to it at some point. And that's with the more newsy stuff. From there we move on to games. Games, we have a whole bunch more. We have Kabuto Sumo from Board Game Tables. They have been basically releasing one expansion news a week, and that has basically made it so that I've been talking about this for 4 weeks now. But they've released, they talked about having an expansion for QE, they had an expansion for Bites, they have an expansion for On Tour. Apparently they also have an expansion coming for Kabuto Sumo in one giant 4-pack of expansions that they'll be putting on Kickstarter, which is mostly great. I say mostly because I didn't care for Kabuto Sumo, but I like the other 3 games, but I also like to buy their bundles on Kickstarter, so now I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I don't need an expansion for Kabuto Sumo. I'm not getting that game. I'll have to figure it out. Whatever. We'll get there eventually. From there we have Tiny Epic Vikings. This is the Tiny Epic Blood Rage I referred to in the beginning because if you read the description for Tiny Epic Vikings, it sounds a whole lot like Tiny Epic Blood Rage. High notes to be sure, not the exact same, but across 3 rounds your Vikings will pillage, and a bunch of other things that make it sound very Blood Rage adjacent in a Tiny Epic form. I'm intrigued, I'm interested. I imagine that like most Tiny Epic games, I will think it is a fine game, but also not necessarily a game for me. One of these days, one of their games is going to really land with me. It's going to connect in a way that some of their games haven't. I think all their games are good, by the way. All of them are good. None of them have really connected for me. So we'll see. But Tiny Epic Vikings from Gameland Games. I wonder what that'll do. I mean, especially if it really leans into the Blood Rage aspect. I mean, that should hit over $2 million, right? Maybe? I don't know. Tiny Epic Dungeons did over $2 million. No, Tiny Epic Vikings won't do over $2 million. I think this is going to be the first downtrend we see on a Gameland Games production in a while. I'm guessing 1.6. 1.6, that's my prediction now for Tiny Epic Vikings. I imagine it'll do better than Tiny Epic Pirates, but I just don't see it beating Tiny Epic Dungeons. It's too classic of a title, so we'll see. Time will tell. From there, speaking of expansions, or stuff adjacent to expansions, we have Townsfolk Tussle. Townsfolk Tussle announced that they will have a Kickstarter coming, ideally in Q3 2022. That's this year. But they have 3 expansions coming, as well as a reprint for those of you who don't like paying $325 or whatever the current market prices are on hunting down a copy of Townsfolk Tussle. Those people who didn't want to pay $100 for the base pledge because they didn't get a copy for $85, those people, I'm guessing, kind of would be happy to get a copy of Townsfolk Tussle at $100. But and if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's basically just drama over an early bird. But either way, Townsfolk Tussle, come back to Kickstarter. We'll see what happens over there. We have, speaking of expansions, we have Moonrakers Titans from IV Games. Moonrakers Titans is their, big box and expansion stuff for Moonrakers. They're going to have, I believe, 4 expansions, if I'm not mistaken. 2 or 3 of them they've talked about or given details on, and 1 or 2 of them they have not yet. We just have, stuff coming and details to come and stuff. So that's going to be Moonrakers from IV Studios. We have Death Road's All-Stars. They opened up their Pledge Manager, so if you want to jump in on that game, it's a game I covered on the channel a while ago. You can check out that. Fun little racing beat-em-up game, but Death Road's All-Stars. You can check out the PM. There was another game that recently had the PM open, but I don't remember what that one was. We have Septima from Mindclash Games. Septima is going to be their newest title coming to Kickstarter. That's going to be another game that does over $1 million. Septima seems to be them aiming to be a bit more gateway friendly, but not actually gateway. Just it's aiming to be their most accessible title to date while maintaining the feel of a Mindclash game. I wonder if they'll be able to pull it off or not. It has simultaneous action selection, which I'm very intrigued by, leaning heavily into like a Witch Coven, like kind of a theme to it as you play your actions and try to figure out how they resolve and who you're working with and against. Looks intriguing at a surface level. Haven't heavily dove into it yet in terms of seeing more about what it's about, but I do like the idea. I like simultaneous play in general. I like simultaneous action selection, and I don't mind a Mindclash game that's more accessible, although that can come with trade-offs. I know that with Viticulture, they had what was the game that was the thinky filler? Mercado de Lisboa. That was aiming to be a more accessible Lacerda game. And it did so, but also lost some of the feel of a Lacerda game. It was a good game, but it wasn't Lisboa good. And so I am intrigued to see what Septima manages to do and how well it manages to capture that accessible versus feeling like a Mindclash experience. Very intrigued. From there we have Viticulture World. That's the cooperative Viticulture. Viticulture World is the newest expansion to Viticulture, which is a game that hasn't had an expansion in quite some time from Stonemaier Games, and Viticulture World is basically giving us cooperative viticulture. They announced the details in this, and so you can check that out if you want more information, but basically it kind of gives you a cooperative progression through the world of viticulture, very heavily based on the concept of these worlds that you're going to be incorporating. So every game has a world with different events that will be coming out as you upgrade your actions and do a bunch of things over there. We'll have more coverage on the channel at some point as things get closer, but that's Viticulture World from Stonemaier Games. Then we have Ready, Set, Bet from John D. Clare. Ready, Set, Bet is imagine a betting game from John D. Clare and AEG. Once again, John D. Clare is teaming up with AEG, which is generally where he seems to be, although he did do something recently with Brotherwise Games, so we'll see what happens there. Very intrigued. Anything John D. Clare touches, I always call him John D. Clare, because that's what it says in the boxes. I don't know if he goes by that in any shape or form, if I'm just insisting on referring to him as John D. Clare. Is it just John Clare? John? Is it just John? I'm going to say John, okay? John, an AEG, is putting out Ready, Set, Bet. Don't know a thing about the game. I know the cover looks good. Components look very like casino and betting, which is nice, but doesn't appeal to me personally. We'll see. I like his designs, and I'll have to check it out one way or the other. And then lastly, we have Runescape Kingdoms from Steamforged Games. Steamforged Games, who did Bardsung. Runescape Kingdoms, they put out a bit of a blog post. This is not the first time we've talked about it. They have a RuneScape RPG and a RuneScape board game coming. RuneScape Kingdoms is the board game. They released basically a blog post, some pictures of some miniatures. Miniatures intrigue me. They went with a combination of like trying to maintain the detail of like a Steamforged miniature while going very lo-fi to like respect a 20-year-old video game. I'm intrigued. I'm not sold just yet, but I like the concept of the designs they're going for in the miniatures. The part I'm a little bit struggling more on is it's a cooperative game, and I'm curious what the gameplay is like. I'm curious, like it almost sounds like they're going with a very Bardsung approach in terms of the style of gameplay, but they already have Bardsung, so I don't know what the gameplay is going to be like. I mean, listen, if it's exactly the same as Bardsung, then ultimately I'll just choose which one I prefer, but I am intrigued. I'm intrigued, and we'll have to wait and see more about RuneScape. And that is all the stuff there. Which brings me to the topic of the week, which is, and this is for the second week in a row, just a kind of minor update on how things are going since I quit my job. Again, I have a link to that in the channel somewhere, but I quit my job a week ago. My last day of work was last Thursday, which means as of the time that you're watching this, or I should say as of the time that I'm recording this, it has been 6 days without a job. Although not much has actually changed yet. We'll go into some of the details so far, but it's interesting for me. I'm going through a process of readjusting. I said this last week, that's nothing new. But also I haven't really fully hit any strong readjustments because I went from my last day of work being last Thursday to then going to Toronto to spend time with my family for Passover. It's currently Passover as we speak, by the way. From there I came back to Cleveland, and then I've been spending most of the few days so far with my family because they're all on vacation, and then between that and catching up from all the other things I need to do from just being gone for 3 days. So it hasn't really been a major shift yet. I've had a little bit more free time, comparatively speaking, but free time balanced with trying to be mindful of the holidays and catching up before and after and all of that. So I've gotten a lot done, but I also have been behind in some areas at the same time, trying to generally maintain the production schedule that I have as far as having 11 videos up on the channel a week, and doing that while being gone for, 3 days this past week, and then about to head into holidays again for Friday and Saturday. I'm offline again, so I mean, it's Saturday for you now, but yesterday and today I'm completely offline again, which means I have to get all those videos prepped for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to make sure everything's working there. So again, it's still been a bit of a balance, just making sure everything gets done, hence why I'm not sure whether this video will or won't have all those images and things going on. Practically speaking, as of right now, when I'm filming this, I have less than 24 hours to get 3 more videos filmed, and then edit, timestamp, and produce 5 videos, and get those all up on the channel within less than 24 hours, just to get everything prepped so that I can, well, walk into the holidays. And so that's always a balance there as far as getting that stuff done. I actually got a lot done this week. I fully read the rules for a whole bunch of games. I read the rules for Burn Cycle. I read the rules for Bard Song. I'm halfway through the rules for Euthia. These are a bunch of larger games that I need to get tabled. Fully read the rules for Golem from Cranial Creations. And that's a game I played, by the way, but I played it long enough ago that I had to fully dive into it. Like, I'm fully prepping for all the stuff that I need to get tabled, and I've played a lot of games too. A lot of games. When I go over it shortly in the what I played section, I've gotten a lot done. It's not that I haven't gotten a lot done, it's that I need to figure out exactly how things go. And then part of that as well, part of what I've been focusing on as well, is a lot of stuff that's just been backing up. So for instance, one of the things I did this past week is completely cleaned the basement. And you're like, what's the change? And the answer is the change is behind the camera. Behind the camera, this room can be as messy as it needs to be because you don't see it. I don't care. It's easy to grab some games that come in, put them down. Games that are going out, they just go down, and it all becomes a very big mess very quickly. One of the things I was able to do this past week was start the process of cleaning up that mess. In fact, one of the things I need to do is all those games leaving the collection videos, those games that are leaving whenever I do those videos, they go onto a Calyx cubby over there, and they sometimes get sold, and other times they sit, and the Calyx cubby is decently full of games that I need to go through the process of selling, which again, I haven't had that time until now, so that's another thing that's going to be on my homework assignment next week. Practically speaking, I'm very interested in what my next week looks like. Next week, starting off with Monday, is the first day that I actually have a full day of work where I can actually get things done. And it is work. This is YouTube. This is work for me. I have a full day of work without the kids home, without anyone here, and I'm very curious what that will be like. That's going to be the first time I actually get that 8-hour day of being able to focus on something, just concentrated, doing what I need to do. Drafting together the schedule I need to put together. Oh, one thing I've been doing, which is a lot of fun, is I've been working on my Notion board. I might do a full video on it at some point. Notion is a way I manage everything, so to speak, and I manage a lot of stuff on Notion. It's very satisfying, and I've recently completely configured how my board works in terms of managing my reviews, my collection, all these other aspects, all in one board. The downside is it means all these videos where I have links to my Notion board, those may not work anymore, so I have to figure out. I'm changing my whole board structure. We'll figure it out. But either way, it's been a lot of things have gotten done. A lot of things still need to get done. It's going to be a process of adjustment. I may or may not continue to, have this as a topic of the week. It's just me figuring out, well, everything. It's me figuring out everything, and I don't know. I feel there's enough stuff. Maybe it's just, I don't know. I'm just going through my process of readjustment to what's going on here. And so that's been my week. It's been a good combination of getting a lot of things done, spending time with my family, going on some trips, although we still haven't continued Boba Fett. We really need to do that. Watch the 3rd episode of Moon Knight. That is fantastic, by the way. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but episode 1, 2, and 3 have gotten consistently better. I am loving Moon Knight. Yeah, strong opinions on Moon Knight, and we'll see what happens next. But that's been my week so far, and we'll come back to it next week, or we'll come back to a regular topic of the week, wherever the regularly scheduled content is. Which brings me, speaking of all the stuff I've been playing, which brings me to what I played. And so this week I got a lot done. The upside of the holiday is it means I can get a whole lot done very quickly as far as gameplays. So let's go back to where I left off, which I left off over there. So, got in a play of DC Comics deck building game. DC Comics, that's going to be, I'll have a review coming up at some point before the Kickstarter ends, but I got in a play of DC Comics, the base game, got in some expansion plays, we'll get up to those soon as well, but DC Comics, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a review. I have Voyages. I got my first play of Voyages. Voyages is going to be a roll and write game that I bought a print and play roll and write over on Kickstarter. Enjoyed it. I don't know if it has staying power or not, but I definitely want to go through the various maps, and time will tell whether it has staying power. We have Spirituals. Spirituals. Got to play of Spirituals. It's going to be an upcoming Kickstarter. We'll see when that's going to be going live Tuesday, I believe, the Kickstarter for that. It's more of a leaning into a Pokemon-themed head-to-head deck building game. Not really, well, you can draft or build your deck, or you can use pre-constructed decks. Head-to-head deck battling game. We have Ghost of Christmas. Dove into another game of that. Ghost of Christmas is always fantastic. Continues to be one of my favorite trick-taking games. We have Juicy Fruits. Juicy Fruits from Capstone Games. Got into play of that. I'll probably be getting in some more plays and then giving a review. Short opinion is, I think it's a solid gateway game from Capstone. I think it's a solid family-friendly game. Don't know if it has staying power for me personally, except my son really likes it, so that will be a little more challenging. We have Planet Unknown. Planet Unknown, I am very excited for that one. Well, I mean, excited, I played it. We'll be talking about it more. I have to get more plays in. There will be a review at some point, but this is my first physical play of the game. I played it on TTS a while ago, but this was my first time playing it physically. It is not as good as I remember, but still very good. Okay, I think I built it up in my head to be more than it was, but still very good, although also there are factors. I'll get more plays in, we'll talk about it, I'm still positive on it. We have Skulls of Sedlec. I've slowly been going through all the Skulls of Sedlec expansions. They came in from Button Shy Games, and my daughter and I have been going through the game, introducing one expansion after another. We recently added Poets, we added Poets and Clerics, I think. The ones that score for having priests above or below. Maybe it's not Clerics, it's something else. But either way, we're diving into the various expansions for Skulls of Sedlec, really enjoying it. I like all the things they add. We have Animal Kingdoms. Animal Kingdoms is a game that I tried from the designer of Sprawlopolis and Fliptown, Stephen Armani, I believe. I liked it without loving it. I don't think I'll have full review content. I don't know if I'm going to bother diving into it more. It was fun, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't particularly impressive for me. I've been diving into more Knockdown. I've gone through the other two Knockdown games. Knockdown is a game from Awakened Realms Light. I played the original a while ago, and I'll be diving in, I have dived into the other two expansions, the two standalone games for it, the Tainted Grail and Nemesis expansions. I will have review content for the full bundle at some point soon. We have Super Motherload. Super Motherload from Roxley Games. I liked Super Motherload. I don't know if I'll have review content. It depends if I dive into it more. Super Motherload is a fun game from Roxley Games that is an accessible, strong intro deck building game. Very quick, very clean, very fun, but very fun in a way that I don't know if I'm compelled to play it. Like, there's some games that you want to play and then you're fine, and there's some games you want to continue to play. I really enjoyed Super Motherload. I don't know if I'm going to play it again. We'll see. We have Mysterium Park. Got in 2 plays of Mysterium Park, which was not fun. Not fun at all. Yeah, I didn't like Mysterium Park. I remember liking Mysterium a lot. I played Mysterium a long time ago, and I remember really liking Mysterium. I don't know what happened with Mysterium Park. I don't know if it was the group, if it's the game. I don't even remember Mysterium well enough to specifically be able to point to the changes. I know at a high level it captures what Mysterium was doing, but at a lower level I don't know the specific changes because it's been a while. But I did not like Mysterium Park. I'd rather play Dixit any day of the week. Then we have Welcome to the Moon. Welcome to the Moon is still continuing to impress. I have to go through the whole thing, and then I'll probably have a review of it. Welcome to the Moon is the newest iteration of Welcome to Your Perfect Home. They had Welcome to Your Perfect Home, then they had Welcome to Las Vegas, and then they had Welcome to the Moon, which to me, not to my wife has a different opinion, to me, Welcome to the Moon, I see no reason to own either of the other games in the series. Welcome to the Moon is incredible. Incredible, lots of fun, really enjoying it. A solid roll and write game. Really loving that one. But we'll talk about it more, and maybe I'll do a review with my wife because she's less positive on it. Then we have Almanac the Dragon Road. I should have review content of that one soon as well. I dove into that one again. That's from Colossal Games. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, solid game. Very light, very accessible, but also a lot of fun. We have Arc Nova. I got into play of Arc Nova. I'll be getting in more plays of Arc Nova, and then we'll talk about it more. But yeah, I'll be getting into more plays, and then we'll talk about Arc Nova more. We have DC Comics again, continuing to dive into DC Comics. We have Welcome to the Moon again. We have Last Light. Got a play in of Last Light from Road Canada. I'll have a review content on the page today. You already know, maybe you already know, I don't know. You probably already know that I'm very positive on Last Light. Finally getting to play it again has not changed my opinion at all. I got in a few plays. I got in a play 2-player online with Roy. That will be with Roy Canada, the designer. That will be on the channel channel today, actually. And then I got in physical plays with the actual prototype, and that will be, well, the review will be on the channel later today. So that's Last Light. And then we got in another DC Comics, and we have Cthulhu Death May Die. Cthulhu Death May Die. That is a fun game. Managed to get an online play-in on TTS first time. Very well scripted mod. Really incredible game. Every time I basically was playing with some patrons, I got in a, what's it called? I played the first scenario again. It's been a long time since I played that first, not that long. Maybe it's been less than a year. It's been less than a year since I played the first scenario. I still love Cthulhu Death May Die. It is still a joy to play every single time, and every time I play it, I'm reminded of just how much I like that game and why I like that game so much. Amazing experience. And then we have Agricola. I got a play of Agricola from Uwe Rosenberg, and we will be talking about that more because there's a reason Le Havre and Caverna are on the table. What I will say about Agricola is that I have played Agricola. I played it a whole bunch, actually. It's one of the first games I played when I got into the hobby, and I really liked it for a long time, but then it left my collection, and playing it tonight reminded me of both why I like it and why it left my collection. Also, by the way, to its credit, I was able to dive back in. It's been 6 years since I played it. Sorry, it's been 6 years since I played it, and it was not hard to dive back in. Some small rules details, like exactly how the animals need to be stored in the various pastures and things like that, but it was fairly easy to dive into it without much of a, recollection. It was very, I was impressed. It's been 6 years since I played it, something like that. But Agricola. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the week in review. So, that's what I played. Week in review, starting off with Saturday. This past Saturday, I did a review for Marvel Legendary and Expansions. Gave Marvel Legendary base game a 3 out of 5, and with expansions a 3.5 out of 5. I enjoy the game, but it also doesn't capture me the way I want to be captured by a game. Then on Saturday, later on Saturday, we had Glass Road, and Marvel Legendary I will not be keeping for context. Later on Saturday, we had Glass Road, another Uwe Rosenberg game. Gave that one a 4 out of 5. I've had Glass Road in my collection for a very long time. Continuously love that game, continuously play and enjoy that game. It's solid, it's accessible, it plays quickly. Love Glass Road, a solid game. Been in my collection for quite some time. And speaking of Capstone, from Juicy Fruits, Arc Nova, all that, they have the new printing of Glass Road. Then on Sunday was a review for Anastyr from Mythic Games. Anastyr is currently on Kickstarter right now as we speak. I didn't rate that one officially, but it's probably somewhere between, it's probably a 4. I'm guessing it's going to be a 4 to 5. It could drift down, could drift up, depends on how the final game goes. But it's a prototype. We only got a chance to play a single scenario. So we played it, well, we played 2 half games and a full game, but single scenario, so not a lot of content to dive into and explore. I like it, while also feeling that it's a little bit limited compared to other games I like in that genre. So for me right now, if I'm grading it to other games in the genre, it feels better than a game like, let's say, Monster Apocalypse from Mythic Games themselves, and it feels worse than Zombicide. So it's somewhere in the middle as of right now, but I'm very curious where the final game ends up. Then on Monday we had 2 Back or Not to Back. 2 Back or Not to Back, covering a whole bunch of games, a whole bunch of Kickstarters, a whole bunch of games I'm tempted by, and some that I am backing. Specifically, one that I'm backing offhand is Last Light. I really like that game. Also backing For Northward, and then a whole bunch of games I'm tempted by, but currently not yet hitting that back button as of now. Then on Tuesday we had a few reviews. We had a review for Ra from 25th Century Games. They are putting out the new version over on GameFound, and yes, in my review I said Kickstarter because I didn't realize it was GameFound when I filmed it, and then I realized it was GameFound after. But yeah, they have a Ra from 20th Century Games, art by Ian O'Toole. Love the game, love the new version of the game. The art seems to be very divisive, some people loving it, some people not liking it. I'm firmly in the camp of loving it. I really enjoy the presentation, the new style brings to the table. Yeah, huge fan of Ra. I gave it a 4 to 5, and I am probably going to pick it up again. It's a game that did leave my collection a while ago, like maybe a year or 2 ago, because I had just played it enough. But it's a good enough game, and it's a quick enough game, and it's very good at what it's doing that I'm tempted to pick up the new version by, well, 20th Century Games. Then later on Tuesday, we had a review for Three Sisters, which I guess is technically being distributed by 25th Century Games as well, but not published by them. They're just doing the distribution. But Three Sisters from Motor City Games, that is a roll and write game that is a lot of fun. If you like Fleet, then I think you'll like, well, Three Sisters. Or if you like Fleet the Dice game, then you'll like Three Sisters. Or I mean, not Fleet the Dice game. If you like Motor City, then you'll like Three Sisters. Basically, any of these interweaving roll and write games, I gave it a 4 to 5. Really enjoyed it. And then lastly on Tuesday, another flip and write game. I covered Fliptown from Stephen Armani, designer of Animal Kingdoms Games, designer of Sprawlopolis, and it's a really solid game. I really enjoyed Fliptown. It has a strong luck element, which is the one caveat I gave that you should be very mindful of. But past that, and all games have luck, but it's specifically in the way the way the luck is in this game, it can be more of a problem if you are sensitive to luck. But I still gave it a 4 to 5. Still really enjoyed it. A lot of things about it that are being done really, really well. Very much appreciated playing through that one. And that was Tuesday. Then from Wednesday we had a fun video. How much do I make? Basically, it's a full deep dive into content creation, the way you pay the bills in content creation, the way anyone actually makes money doing anything, specifically in the board game space, but almost any audience you're in. And it included aspects of my expenses, how much I make, all of that. I may or may not do a follow-up video about the nature of expenses and things in general. I don't know if it's worth it, but basically it's very interesting. One of the things I found very fascinating is the wide, and I kind of knew this would happen, and it's one of the reasons I addressed it in the video, that it's probably a mistake to do this. And overall, the video was incredibly well received, by the way, so I'm very, very happy with. Again, I'm always nervous when I do these more personal videos, or sometimes revealing more information or talking. It's always a challenge, the balance between being open, transparent, communicative, versus saying too much, versus not knowing when to stop talking. It's always a weird balance, and again, I have deleted videos. I have filmed videos in the past, thought it came across poorly, thought it was not the right way, the presentation or something. I remember I did a full video one time about stuff that I filmed it when I was in not a bad mood, but I filmed it when I was being directly reactive to something more negative. And so my entire approach to the video was more negative. And I actually didn't have a problem with the content. The content I thought was fine. And this is all very vague and mysterious, I know, but I scrapped a full 45-minute long video. I kept pushing it off, and then after 2 months, I was like, I'm just not going to post it. And I just still hit delete, and I put it back in my notes to refilm it another time when I wasn't in a slightly more reactive funk. Small nuances. The point is, I will delete things sometimes, but then other times I'm like, no, I think it's a conversation worth having. A conversation worth having. And so yeah, that was my video. And so the point where I was talking about is, I talked about how much I make and spend, and the practical reality is our expenses are somewhere in the range of 90 to 100K. We're a family of 6. If you look at general expenditures for families of 6, they actually stop at 6 for the most part. Usually they go to family of 4, and then I found one site that goes to 5, so you can kind of extrapolate. But depending on the site you look at, and depending on what state you're in, the expenses for a family of 4 the average expenses for a family of 4 are anywhere between 60 to 80K. Depends very highly on what you're looking at. I think it's 65 to 80K, but it depends on what site you're looking at. We're a family of 6, and our expenses are in the range of 90 to 100K, and that's one of those dangerous numbers, because you tell someone what you're spending, and some people are like, wow, you're spending way more than you need to, and others are like 80, 100K, and you're a family of 6. I'm spending that with 2 or 3 people. So you have all these weird balances where people have different perspectives depending on what they are and aren't doing, and it's I guess what I would say is if you're a family of 6 in the US and you're spending less than 100K, then great, that's awesome. But I think most people who are reacting to 100K are probably not in that situation. And I say that because just within my own circle of friends, people I know who have a similar size families or situations, we tend to be a little bit more on the thrifty side. So it's all a balance. But I think it's a whole interesting different conversation. I got 2 comments from people in Portugal who were like, you should move to Portugal. You can make a ton of money here and you'll be totally fine. And I thought that was a great idea, except for my wife and kids who need to sign off on the idea. So, I mean, it's not bad. The idea of moving to cheaper locations, strictly speaking, we're in Cleveland, we're in Ohio. That is fairly cheap compared to New York, California, Toronto, a whole bunch of other places you could be that are much more expensive. We're in not the cheapest, but not the most expensive state to live in. But either way, overall, very happy with the video, very happy with how it went. Generally, the past few weeks have been very, very positive. Yeah, it's been very, very helpful. Thank you. Then that was Wednesday. Thursday was top 10 oldest games in my collection. Thursday was just going over I have to figure out how to title that one, or you already know how I titled that one, but the balance is, it's not the 10 oldest games in my collection, it's the 10 longest lasting games in my collection. The 10 oldest games you might think mean the published date, which is not the point of this video. I'll figure out the title. Point is that it's the top 10 longest lasting games in my collection. It's the games that have stood the test of time the most from all the games I currently have. And so I did a full video on that, going over them, including 5 bonus games because of, well, you can see in the video. You can check that out. That was going to be Thursday's video. On Friday's video, I am not certain what it was, because the Friday video that is going up is one of the videos that I have to finish filming and editing before, well, start filming and then finish editing before anything happens tomorrow. So that may or may not have gone up. You can check down the timestamp. There'll be a timestamp for Friday's video with the appropriate title. It was great. I was such a huge fan of Friday's video. It was the best video I possibly could have had, and I'm very, very thrilled with how well Friday's video went, because Friday's video is delightful. Hopefully that all makes sense. We'll see what Friday's video is or isn't before things happen. But anyways, that is Friday. And then today we have 2 videos. We have a Last Light gameplay going up at 1 p.m. and then we have a Last Light review going up at 4 p.m. So that you can check those out. Short version is I'm very, very positive on the game, and playing it, but playing a 2-player and playing it in person has not changed my opinion at all. If anything, it's cemented my opinion. Actually, it probably bumped my opinion up, if anything. But yeah, that is going to be today's videos. Which brings us to next week. Next week we have a few things. We have a surprise unboxing, probably going up Sunday, I imagine. We'll see. But I say surprise unboxing because it's something that I imagine you won't see unboxed by a lot of people, because it, well, you can check it out. You'll see. There'll be a surprise unboxing. A surprise. Not a prototype. A finished game, in a matter of speaking. We'll see. I'm sorry for being cryptic. I think it's cool. I think it's very, very cool. It's a very, very cool thing. We'll talk about it next week. And then next up, we'll have later in the week, we'll have upcoming Kickstarters for May. That will be going up later in the week at some point, probably Friday, maybe Thursday. We shall see. And that brings us to the games on the table. Games on the table. We have Le Havre. We have Caverna. Basically, I played Agricola. Which I have not played in 6 years. I played it with Jesse and Shira, the Cracklow team. And I want to dive into these games so that I can actually get these guys played, because I haven't played Caverna, and I want to play Caverna, and I want to introduce them to Le Havre. So we will see what happens on those. And then from there we have Bardsung. Bardsung is, well, we'll have to get this one played. I finished the rules for this. The rules were excellent, easy to go through. I'm ready to get a table and played. I just need to, well, ideally have the house to myself for like 2 or 3 hours. I'll set it up. I'll get it played. We'll talk about it. It'll be a good time. And that is going to be Bardsung, Le Havre, Caverna, all those things. And that basically is the week in review. As always, until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, have a good one.